television. The studio where the news is read is right in the middle of the building, and it's really the only building that we designed that's on television every day of the year. It's really about people. So 22 Bishopsgate is under construction now. In fact, it looks very much like this. There's about 12 panels of facade missing in the top of the building. It's going to open early next year. And it's a new type of office building for the city of London. Actually anywhere. It's about 10% of the net area is for amenities. So the tenants of the building rent their space, but they are part of a community that has health and well-being functions, social functions. There is a huge variety of workspace, and it's all entirely flexible because, in fact, we actually don't know what the work in London is going to be like in about 5-6 years. It's all going to be very different. That's the only thing we know. So we have to design for change and adaptability and flexibility. And companies are getting smaller. They'll have a shorter life. They don't know what will happen in 3 or 4 years, so leases are shorter. It's a very, very different animal. Plus the wellness amenities in the building cannot be important enough. I think people, small companies are competing for talent with the Googles and the Amazons of the world, and they have to provide quite as much as they can provide. So sharing it in a big building makes perfect sense, and these buildings are really part of the city fabric. I don't really want you to panic, but I do want to say that it's all very nice thinking of these wonderful things for the future, if we have a future. And actually it's not looking so well. These numbers always freak me out, but the first time I looked at them I thought, what are they? You know? But actually this is last year, and 2100, my teenage sons are going to be, just about to retire at that stage, and they hope they have a bit of a future then. But it doesn't look so good. The world population is expanding. These are actually numbers of people in billions, and the planet population is growing massively. Most of these people will go and work in cities and live in cities, and the way we are designing cities, it wouldn't work in the way that we're designing them now. This is all stuff you're familiar with, but I think if you put them one after the other, it's a bit daunting. And we've only recently started measuring temperatures. We have an idea from looking at old trees and stuff of what it was in the past, but never has the temperature gone up so fast in the last 1500 years. It's quite scary. Sea level rises. There's a big sort of whitish area where you are, and where I am in that little red circle in Europe. That's the Netherlands, where 67% of the people are going to be impacted by sea level changes in the next 20 years. It's very quick. Don't sit on your butt and wait for it to happen. It's going to be a disaster. We need to work about. Many of these things look daunting, but we also are in the middle of this radical technological innovation shock. That sounds quite exciting. The terminology is actually economics. An economist told me this about what is now generating the economy. It's no longer manufacturing or production or service industries. It's technological innovation. So it is happening everywhere. It's probably what's going to save us in the end. So architecture has to respond to that. So, we're not the only one, but I was just speaking to my colleagues just before the show. Architects actually, because they do all these kind of things as part of their work, and they have to be able to talk to people who are into economics and people who are into psychology, people who are into well-being. There are about 20 different disciplines that architects touch on. They're actually quite well placed to talk to the rest of the world about this. So we've organized PLP Labs. It's a research group within our office. It's part of projects, but we're also doing specific research for clients, because I think they need to learn. PLP Labs, we're looking obviously into geometries and how we can mix the real world with the geometry of the work that we're doing. we look into HoloLens. We're trying to figure out how we can build very complex structures because we understand the 3D world and we can overlap it with the real world. These two model makers, the one with the HoloLens is telling the other guy where to solder pieces of metal together. And very quickly they build up this model in space, which would have would taken 3 days to build in the past. We're looking at materials. We're doing research into timber as material for tall buildings with the University of Cambridge. We know we can do it. This is 300 meters tall. It's made of wood. It's got a few nails and nuts and bolts in, but the idea is that wood should be used more and more as a construction material because it's the only construction material that has benefits for use, benefits for the planet. It's very carbon neutral. It's carbon negative because every time you chop down a tree and use it, you encapsulate carbon. There's no relationship with deforestation because it's an agricultural product. Timber grows in farms almost in the northern hemisphere mostly, but it could happen everywhere. And 10 trees are planted every time we take one down. And trees and plants, when they're young, they absorb more carbon and produce more oxygen than when they're about 20 years old. So it's good stuff to use. We're looking at mobility. We're trying to figure out how future mobility will have influence on cities. We should get rid of cars, is our conclusion, because they do damage a lot of the potential for good quality life in cities. We can put them underground, we can do all sorts of things with them, but we're combining digital technologies with town planning to figure out how to do this. We're creating network systems that make us understand what would happen if you would create networks underground, for instance in London. I think with the use of electric automated cars, they can drive in tunnels very, very close together very fast. There's a lot to learn. This is all kind of future stuff, but it's the next 10 years or something. I think we need to start thinking about this. If we look at mobility in cities, we should also look at very large vertical mobility in towers, because towers are a typology that we'll use more and more in the dense cities of the future. You can combine a public transport system in a city with a public transport system in buildings. You can do a lot better than we have so far. It makes no sense whatsoever to put a lift in the middle of a building and have it go up and down. Maybe in a 3-story building, if anything over 20, it makes no sense. It's a real waste of space. Because they only go up and down, they should really go around and deliver people. So we're going to get there. This will formulate a whole new type of architecture, and it's going to be a very exciting time for architects. But mostly, we need to worry about the future. The latest thing we're doing to do with global warming and climate change is to see whether we can float on the sea, whether we can make cities that float. It's been thought of before, but it's actually nice to consider because most of the areas, coastal areas, that are part of the production, the economic production of the planet, are in danger, and they might well extend rather than internally or up the mountain. They might well extend onto the sea, and maybe we will learn how to farm in the ocean as well, because as we were hunters and gatherers 5,000 years ago on land. It's taken us a long time, but we're sort of having this agricultural thing sorted out. We can grow food on land sustainably and beneficially for the planet. In the sea, we're still hunter-gatherers. We just go in and take out. We don't put anything back. And there's a lot to learn there. And maybe we can use it if there's going to be, how many billions of us on the planet we might use it. So these kind of things are part of what we talk to our clients about. They are supposed to be a discussion. Where do we go? What do we do? How is the world going to be a better place? And how are we going to keep the planet? Thank you.